LeBron advances to the second round. Wow, this game really shocked me because really, when you look at the series, the Lakers came in being such underdogs that it was going to be hard to assume that they were going to win, especially against one of those teams that was expected to be much better than they were last year. Honestly, I think that with this series, we saw a shift on the Lakers team where they like that negativity, they like all the hate that people threw at them, and they internalized that and they made that into strong and competitive basketball all throughout the series. I personally have here some stats which really jump out at me, which is first, LeBron averaged 20 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists. I want to say that with less than 50% from the field and 20% from three, I want to say that honestly, LeBron played badly in this series. Like, if you actually watch the games, and he was super effective, he stepped up and he did everything that he needed to win and that his team needed him to do to win. But I do believe that this shows that LeBron is managing himself. We've seen this in the playoffs a lot, where if LeBron believes enough in his team to win games, then he'll take a step back until he really needs to amp it up. And we've seen that all throughout his career, especially in places like Miami or Cleveland, right, when Kyrie and Kevin Love were there, when he would go and his best performances always came from the conference finals and the finals. So I believe that maybe LeBron is saving his body, saving his talent, and saving his determination just so that in the next rounds where they're going to face harder opponents who are more experienced, he can have better games, right? I also want to say shout out to some players. D'Angelo Russell, he really had a phenomenal game 6 where he dropped 31. But I believe that the best thing about D'Angelo Russell was that he never gave up and that Darvin Ham never gave up on him. Like, the first 2 games he was choking, and a lot of people were talking about how D'Lo a choker. He's always been this way, even going back to like Brooklyn and stuff. But we can see from the series that he's not, and that all it took was that the lights were bright. But then as soon as he adjusted, he came back and did his thing, right? Of course, with D'Lo, you're expecting performances like that because of his lack of efficiency, really, right, from the field. But I do believe that if you actually watch the games, and he had a phenomenal series in terms of those last 3 games, he really amped it up to a different level, especially after he stunk up the first 2 games, which I believe that they won. Another guy that I want to talk about, which impressed me a lot, was Rui Hachimura. He was one of those sneaky pickups that the Lakers took, but he was the most efficient player on the team by far. I think in every statistical category he led them, But I do want to say that shout out to him because off the bench he played amazingly and he did some really great things for this team. Also, Jared Vanderbilt, Dennis Schroeder, I do believe that those were guys who were game changers. Even though Dennis, had a worse series in terms of efficiency, his defense is always phenomenal, especially against great players. And yeah, on the Grizzlies side, I want to say that Desmond Bane was insane. His efficiency is off, and if you actually watch the games, then you would know that sometimes he just stunk it up. But I do believe that his good performances were the most needed for them, and that he came up big. He was hitting big shots a lot of the time, and he was extremely confident in himself. Also, I want to say Ja Morant was awesome. Right? Like, yeah, his field goal percentage was bad, but that was because the Lakers were really putting emphasis on guarding the paint. And he averaged like 25, 7, and 7 with almost 2 steals. So, in my opinion, really, Ja Morant deserves that respect where he's consistently upgraded in the playoffs to a degree. Even if his whole team is worse, he will find a way to actually impact the game. I also want to talk about Dylan Brooks, who had one of the worst series which I've seen. Consistently giving up big shots to defenders, consistently just jacking up bad shots, which you were like, what is he doing? And even when he had good looks, he would still probably smoke them, right? Like, I believe that his defense is key, but if his decision making keeps on going like this, I don't know how the Grizzlies are gonna force themselves to keep him. I do want to say shout out to the Lakers because they've been such a great franchise in terms of rebuilding this team again from the deadline. Like, if you remember before, this team had a losing record. They were expected to lose the playoffs, and their first round pick was going to go to New Orleans, and New Orleans was expected to be one of the top 3 seeds and get a number 1 pick. But they really flipped it around, especially due to Anthony Davis, which is the next player I wanted to talk about, because this guy has been insane. He's consistently come up big. He averaged 4 blocks a game in this series. He grabbed 13 rebounds, and even though, yeah, his point totals are not like that, they don't jump out at you. You could see that even in big games, he made big plays. And he wasn't lacking at any time. Even when LeBron had a bad game, he would pick up the steam, and he had a few clutch performances. I'm pretty sure he had like a 31-17 game, which is insane. And I believe that the Lakers have really flipped the season around. Then this creates the question, who are they facing in the second round? I don't know when the game is going to go live, but I know that in terms of importance, I think it matters a lot. Sacramento is raw and they score a lot and they are clutch. So, and the Warriors, as soon as they get to the second round, they get that confidence. Also, that they're going to be facing off against LeBron, which is really their biggest target in terms of their franchise's history. I do believe that the Lakers have a good chance of winning the second round, just if they play as well as they did in the first, because maybe as the lights get brighter and as people start changing their mindset to believe like, oh, we might actually win the championship, I want to see how these guys act up, how they play, and what type of moves are the Lakers going to make to win these series against, first, a young team which could blow them out in terms of offense, and second, such an experienced team which won the championship last year. So that second round matchup is going to be interesting. And the Phoenix versus Denver, also that's happening. So now we're starting to see how the finals and the conference finals are shaping up to be. Which teams are going to be able to make a finals run, right? Or at least be close to it. We already have some surprises in Miami, New York, and also I would say that, a team like Phoenix, who was so doubted that if they could win, Devin Booker averaging 37. But yeah, I think this puts Lakers in a great position. I think it gives them a lot of confidence that even if they don't win this year, as long as LeBron plays up to his standard and these guys are together, they could actually win. And if the Lakers win the championship, then that's actually going to be crazy. And he's going to be probably a stamper to most people, like, this guy's the GOAT. And that could really mess up the GOAT debate because he's going to have as many rings as Kobe, as many rings as Tim Duncan, and as many rings as as many rings as Magic, exactly. As many rings as Magic, which are guys who've always had more rings than LeBron, but LeBron is considered better than. So yeah, this series is very important. Let's hope the Lakers keep playing well, and let's see what LeBron does in the second round, and AD and all those guys. Also, the Grizzlies, they talk too much. And that's not an opinion. I'm just saying, like, if they would have been humbler, then they probably would have not gone out this crazy in a 40-point loss in Game 6.